Hi friends, welcome back with me on my VR1 channel, and all of you, the young boys and girls, you are associated with me basically for your training to train you for Service Selection Board interview for joining the armed forces. Let me tell you here that one of the very important aspects which is checked in your case, which is assessed with you in Service Selection Board, is your communication skills. And when I say about communication skills, it is whether you are writing or you are speaking or you are even giving your body gestures. And either you are interacting with your assessment staff, or you're interacting with your peers or the candidates who are there with you as part of the group, or even for that matter, the supporting staff, the people who are trying to help you in doing up your room, who are helping you in having your food in the dining room, or such kind of things. So everywhere this communication plays a very, very big role. You should be able to communicate your mind to the others, get your things done, and get your purpose for which you're trying to communicate with the others to get what you wanted. So communication is a very, very important thing. And today in the series of communication skills, we're having lots of webinars on this, or even I'm giving you a lot of tips how to improve it, or even improve your spoken language, improve your body language. So such kind of things are on. But today, friends, we are lucky to have with us a communication skills expert, Dr. Shiva Durga, who's had the vast experience in her life. She's been teaching English in the university for last almost about 37 years. And she has a varied experience of teaching and giving communication skills to a large number of students. Besides that, let me tell you, she's also a nominated person by the UGC to do these communication programs and make videos for this particular on the subject, which UGC is giving to all the universities in the country to make sure the youth get benefited. So we are very fortunate that instead of just watching her videos, we have Dr. Shiv Durga with us in our studios today to tell you something about communication skills. And she will definitely enlighten you and even take your questions, answers, and make sure that she'll give you a lot of info on how to improve your communication skills. Firstly, that you should be successful in Service Selection Board interviews. And should, God forbid, you do not make it for the Service Selection Board interviews, I can assure you the same things will come handy to you even if you go for any other UPSC interview. Any of these group discussions in your CAT mat, or anywhere when you go for any corporate interviews. So all these communication skills will come handy to you. So boys and girls, get ready to listen to Dr. Shiv Durga. So thank you, ma'am. Very welcome to our channel, and we are really proud and delighted to have you with us today. And I'm sure your rich experience and your own communicating skills will do a world of good to my boys and girls who all are watching you with keen interest. So ma'am, first question, let's begin with the basics. How would you describe a good and effective communication by any individual?
At the very outset, let me introduce myself. I am Dr. Shiva Durga from the English Department of GLA University, Mathura, UP. I am honored to be in discussion with Brigadier Vijay Dhiman sir on the importance of communication. In the beginning, I would like to talk about communication. What is communication? And then I will talk about the good effect of communication. Communication is a global means through which ideas, thoughts, and expressions are conveyed. This is found to be used by all living creatures to some extent or other. Communication has become the need of humanity as it reflects the lifestyle of a person. Communication has got to be expressive, distinct, powerful to be successful. Humans also understand and learn better communication skills once they start to communicate between organizations and groups. Language is a major feature to be considered while communicating. It's also important that pronunciation and other language skills are taken into account before conversing with a person while talking to others. Humans have their own way of communication. grasping and realizing things, and they interpret differently as well. Therefore, a good communication is essential, at least to a certain extent, to attain some benefits for oneself, provided the message and information that is transmitted is worth understanding. Today, it has become so easy and convenient to communicate with one another than it was several years ago. Good communication is about understanding instructions, acquiring new skills, making requests, asking questions, and relaying information with ease. In today's business world, recruiters are looking for candidates who can communicate information, negotiate, and confidently deal with customers. Listening carefully, speaking clearly, and putting others at ease are very valuable attributes to possess. Good communication needs emotional intelligence, cohesion and clarity, friendliness, confidence, listening, open-mindedness, tone of voice, asking good questions. We humans should therefore understand that proper communication is essential to move about in the society, and that both the way we communicate and what we communicate ought to be considered. Without communication, no human can survive in this planet. We all inherit our ancestral language easily right from the time we were born, and still have the ability to adapt and learn new languages for communication when in a foreign place. So let's all stay united and connected with a good skill of communication.
So ma'am, that was really very apt. Now let me go a step further and ask you, why and when do we need it? When do we need a good communication skills so that we can get what we want in life in terms of any of our ventures around, wherever we go, whatever we do in whichever environment?
Good verbal and written communication skills are essential in order to deliver and understand information quickly and accurately. Being able to communicate effectively is a vital skill and should not be overlooked. To communicate well is to understand and be understood. Good verbal and written communication skills are essential in order to deliver and understand information quickly and accurately. Being able to communicate effectively is a vital life skill and should not be overlooked. Employers seek communication, written and verbal communication, organization, teamwork, critical thinking, and analytical skills. Developing communication skills can help many aspects of your life, from your professional career to social gatherings to your family life. In contrast, poor communication skills can have a negative impact. A poorly delivered message may result in misunderstanding, frustration, and in some cases disaster. To communicate well is to understand and be understood. This can be achieved in the following ways. Verbally, your voice should be clear. Visually, images, graphs, maps, infographics, all these things. Non-verbally, example, body language and eye contact and gestures. And written, example, books, websites and emails are the examples. Listening is a very important part of communication. Being able to actively listen is an important communication skill. It's easily overlooked as people tend to focus more on what they want to say rather than listening to what other person is saying. Knowing when to pause to allow the other person to talk is an important skill. It conveys respect and a willingness to hear the other person's point of view.
Well, ma'am, that was really great. Now, let me again take another step forward and ask you, what exactly are the challenges to this good communication? Why is it that everybody is not a good communicator at all?
The first and foremost barrier to effective verbal communication is lack of clarity. This arises when random facts and sophisticated language is used in a speech or jargons which mask the message or intended to be conveyed. The use of jargon, overcomplicated, unfamiliar or technical terms should be avoided. Next one, emotional barriers and taboos. Some people may find it difficult to express their emotions, and some topics may be completely off limits or taboo. Then the next point is lack of attention, interest, distractions or irrelevance to the receiver. Differences in perception and viewpoint. Next point, physical disabilities such as hearing problems and speech difficulties are also the barriers of communication. Physical barriers to non-verbal communication, not being able to see the non-verbal cues, gestures, posture and general body language can make communication less effective. Phone calls, text messages and other communication methods that rely on technology are often less effective than face-to-face communication. Then, language differences and the difficulty in understanding unfamiliar accents. Expectations and prejudices which may lead to false assumptions and stereotyping. Then comes cultural differences. The norms of social interactions vary greatly in different cultures, as do the way in which emotions are expressed. The next barrier to communication arises when a person jumps into conclusion. One of the common tendencies of a speaker is to clutter up facts with unnecessary conclusion and end up confusing the public. The most important characteristic of a speaker is to never assume things. It's a good practice to gather maximum information about the topic and get to differentiate between the facts, meanings and conclusions speakers attach to those. That's what they are, the barriers of communication which can be avoided.
Well, ma'am, if that be so, then just tell us, tell the boys and girls over here listening to you all listening to you, how important is this listening skill in this communication? Is listening also a skill? And if so, how important is it?
There are 4 communication skills. As you know, listening, speaking, reading and writing. Out of all these skills, listening is key to all effective communication. Listening is not just passive hearing. Listening means paying attention not only to the story but how it is told, the use of language and voice, and how the other person uses his or her body. In other words, it means being aware of both verbal and non-verbal messages. The 4 types of listening are appreciative, empathic, comprehensive and critical. Good listening allows us to demonstrate that we are paying attention to the thoughts, feelings and behaviors of other person, seeing the world through their eyes. This is crucial to maintain productive relationships and sometimes the only way to establish communication. Listening is an invisible mental process, making it difficult to describe. Listeners must discriminate between sounds, understand vocabulary and grammatical structures, interpret stress and intention, retain and interpret this within the immediate as well as the larger socio-cultural context of the utterance. Hearing is simply the act of perceiving sound by the ear. If you are not hearing impaired, hearing simply happens. Listening, however, is something you consciously choose to do. Listening requires concentration so that your brain processes meaning from words and sentences. Listening is a great skill which we have to train ourselves well to improve the other three skills: speaking, reading and writing.
Well, that was great, ma'am. Just another thing. Just tell me, is there a way that we can measure or assess the capabilities of a person in terms of an effective communication, just to find out that a particular person, a boy or a girl, is a good and effective communicator, and when they go for any challenging assignments like SSB interview or any UPSC interview, let's say IAS or CAT-MAT group discussion or such interviews, or even corporates, I mean, how can we say that yes, so-and-so has been assessed to be an effective communicator and they will definitely be successful in whatever venture they step into?
Yes, certainly we can measure and assess effective communication, sir. First, you can conduct regular surveys of your employees and customers to determine if they are communicating effectively. The survey should ask questions specifically related to your communication patterns. For example, ask customers, how did you learn about our latest product or service? Then you can ask employees also, do your superiors and team members clearly communicate information to you? Have them rate their replies on a 1 to 5 scale. That way you can scale, assess. Second, you can do like this also. Post information online in blog format to better communicate with employees, inter-office and customers' public information. Use a website tracking service to monitor visiting patterns and see how long visitors remain on your various website pages. If you see visitors spend several minutes reading content and making positive comments, then you know your communication is effective. If they click away in a few seconds, that could mean you are not sufficiently capturing their attention and effectively delivering your message. The third type of measurement I would like to say, measure the progress of specific work projects to ascertain whether you and your employees are communicating effectively. If you find results are consistently at odds with your instructions, or that your employees experience conflict, these are signs of possible communication problems. The last point I would like to say, ask your employees to repeat verbal instructions back to you to see if they fully understand. You can simply ask each employee to send you an email summarizing your assignment and how they plan to get it done. If the employees clearly and accurately understand your instructions, that is a sign you are communicating effectively. This will also encourage your employees to ask questions to clarify points of confusion when you are talking to them in group and one-on-one meetings.
Okay, ma'am, having said that, I'll just ask you now, is this things like culture, gender, nationality, or even a social class, like in India we have a lot of caste system and social classes, do these things also have an effect on your communications or in your developing communication skills on you? Suppose you belong to any of these different classes?
Wonderful, sir. You are asking me a very good question. Can culture, gender, nationality, or social class have an effect on communication? My answer is a big yes. Culture, gender, nationality, and social class have an effect on communication. This is what we called intercultural communication. Due to culturally diverse world, people encountered problem in dealing with communication with them because we differ in ethnicity, race, religion, or nationality. Yes, culture, gender, nationality, and social class have an effect on communication. Language is also considered as a cultural unique factor and helps in bonding ethnic groups. The main source of linguistic learning is from the environment. This is what we call intercultural communication. Due to culturally diverse world, people encountered problem in dealing with communication with them because we differ in ethnicity, race, religion, or nationality. Culture, gender, age, social status, and religion are some subcultural factors that can influence and affect communication. For example, when I am talking about culture, I would like to say this can affect in different ways because this is a learned set of language, norms, behavior, and beliefs, attitudes, customs, and practices that people in a particular group share at a specific point in time. Cultural differences in non-verbal communication are among the main causes of misunderstandings in intercultural situations. Most non-verbal signals, example body language, space, gestures, clothing, are culturally defined and they account for difficulties in communicating with others. A participant acts according to his or her culture, while another participant who has a different culture might interpret the actions of the other participant differently. In intercultural communication, non-verbal communication also differs significantly between genders and across cultures. I would like to give some examples. In most Western cultures, it is normal for women and men to hug each other, even if they are not close friends. In Middle Eastern cultures, public displays of affection like touching, holding hands are unacceptable. In most Western cultures, maintaining eye contact throughout a conversation is a sign of respect and attentiveness. In many Latin American and Asian cultures, prolonged eye contact can indicate rudeness, especially between people of different social hierarchies. In Middle Eastern cultures, men and women are not supposed to make eye contact. However, making eye contact with a person of the same sex, especially a man with another man, is a sign of sincerity. As you participate in intercultural communication, consider gender differences in communication styles and across cultures to avoid conflict or misunderstanding. Also, your awareness, adaptation, and correct interpretation of non-verbal signals are essential for achievements of mutual understanding in any communication situation. Then comes social status. Differences in social status may affect the way we communicate with others, especially in intercultural communication. A person's standing or position in society can influence the way that people choose his or peers. People are more likely to interact with others of the same social standing as them. Also, communication gap is likely to happen between a person of a higher status and that of a lower status since they differ in background, education, income, and social habits, among others. Status differences are evident across cultures. Then regional variations in language also to be considered. The different varieties in English that we come across today are all unique variants of language. These were all initiated during the British period, promoting special key features like spelling, pronunciation, semantics, and grammar in India. Indian English is referred to as a superset of all these varieties of language. In other words, regarded as Indian variants. There is regional variation in English where pronunciation is considered. Different regions add different flavors of pronunciation. For example, Karnataka, Andhra, northeastern India, Bengal, Orissa are all filled with differences in pronunciation in the language.
Okay, ma'am, please tell us as to what role do your facial expressions or your gestures with your hand or otherwise, or what the pauses that you give while communicating. I mean, what kind of a role all these things play in your communication training, ma'am?
Yes, it's a wonderful question. It is related to facial expression, gestures and pauses play in communication. More than half of your impact as a speaker depends upon your body language. You probably have control over the words you speak, but are you sure that you have control over what you are saying with your body language? That is the question. Body language comprises gesture, stance, and facial expression. These are all more important when all eyes of an audience are upon you. When you are presenting, strong positive body language becomes an essential tool in helping you build credibility, express your emotions, and connect your listeners. It also helps your listeners focus more intently on you and what you are saying. Non-verbal communication also conveys messages effectively despite being expressed through the body or by other gestures. Facial feedback or the immediate response by the face can play a significant role in understanding the expressor's emotional state. Such reactions involve different mechanisms. A smile at someone conveys a friendly message to the other person, but this can be truly a friendly smile or a gesture under social norms also. Social rules also impose certain conditions on a person's non-verbal communication, and some people react only according to the social rules.
Okay, ma'am, as we all know, today is the internet world and social media is totally on the rise. So do you think that the development of internet or social media, I mean, it can cause a change in the way we communicate with each other? Well, in terms of, let's say, quality, quantity, or the style of talking, etc. I mean, do all these things affect our style of communication?
Yes. Now you are talking about internet, social media, which can change our way of communication. And their quality and quantity, you are asking style. Yes. The internet and social media has drastically changed the way people all over the world in interaction and communication. Social media networks allow us the opportunity to share opinions with a far wider audience. Another big change that has occurred is that there is now no filter on the way we speak. Social media has enabled communicators to expand their network globally. Within seconds and with only the push of a button, an individual or brand can reach thousands of people all over the world. Social media has changed the way we communicate with each other by giving us the ability to be constantly communicating. For example, let us take writing. Writing is more summarized. When Twitter and its 140 character limit was introduced, most of us questioned how we could get anything meaningful across in 25 to 30 words. As we have adapted to Twitter and other social media networks, we have realized that 140 character limit has actually pushed us to get the core of what we are conveying. However, this has allowed for shorter sentences or paragraphs and made way of neglecting correct grammar use, and we use more acronyms also. And abbreviations are also prevalent. People who communicate via social media or text message aren't necessarily spelling things incorrectly. They are speaking a new language entirely. So we cannot take it as incorrect language, we can take it as a new language. TTYL, what is it? Is commonly used to let someone know you will talk to them later. In today's world, abbreviations are now so common that we do not even have to think twice about what they stand for. For example, SMM, social media marketing, is called as a SMM, many people know. ESP, email service provider. SOV, share of voice. BRB, be right back. FOMO, fear of missing out. Such abbreviations and acronyms are used in the modern world, and when someone is encoding, the decoding person, if they can understand, that is called communication. That is very easy nowadays.
Well, ma'am, today is an information of online learning. Because of this COVID, lots of changes have taken place, new normals have come. Do you now believe that the teenagers, they could benefit from the communication courses which are available, offered online by the various agencies and various academies around the world?
As we are very much interested in teenagers to improve the youth of the country, you are asking a wonderful question, sir. I would like to answer. If there were communication courses in schools and colleges, then the students of all different backgrounds would highly benefit from it. It would give the much needed confidence to do well in school and in life as a whole. Tomorrow they will be shaping their future and career, which requires a firm interaction and communication which can be built by a strong base. Therefore, I think communication courses can be beneficial to all the teenagers and the youth of our country. Many teenagers are not outspoken and they go through so much and they don't tell it to anybody, and then they think they have done with everything in life and they start taking wrong steps like drug, alcohol addiction, and maybe suicide attempts and so on. So if such introverts join such sessions, maybe they'll become outspoken to someone they trust and will be able to tackle the problems instead of piling them on their heads. They need to communicate very much. Often teenagers are stuck in the world of themselves, far removed from realities. They suffer from depression and anxiety with changes taking place in their bodies and minds. So people need to come forward and communicate with them, trying to know what runs in their minds and how they can help them. They need our compassion and love. So communication courses should be conducted to all of them so that they'll become brilliant later.
And ma'am, a question which almost all the boys and girls probably, after having heard you for so long, they must be wondering. Let me ask it on their behalf from you. Do you think that this communication skills, in case they are honed and sharpened, they help in they help our boys and girls who are potential candidates for joining the armed forces, Indian Administrative Service, banking services, corporate services, and all other host of interviews which are done by Union Public Service Commission in India?
So you are talking about armed forces, IAS, banking, corporates and other UPSC interviews. Do you think communication skills help in interviews? Those who have better communication skill can only join armed forces, IAS, banking, corporates and UPSC services and all. If they don't have proper communication, they are not at all selected. Speech is one of the highest manifestations of human intelligence, sir. I would like to say some of the vital facts required for joining these services.
Yes, ma'am, I think you are right. But let me, again, for the benefit of the boys and girls listening to you, I would just like to ask you, how would you advocate to improve the communication skills for a child? Like if the child has to crack interviews for the armed forces, Union Public Service Commission, IAS and the corporates, etc. Suppose they are going for these interviews, how would you think that these communication skills will help them out?
Number one, I would like to say awareness of what is happening around us in the world by being really knowledgeable. You read books, but you cannot be bookworms. Practically, you will have to apply and use it. So, awareness is more important. The second point I would like to say, to have presence of mind. Mind is in its own place. It can make heaven of hell and hell of heaven, says Milton. So, mind is under your control and you must have the presence of mind. At times, the interview panel describes to grill you. They want to see how comfortable you are with uncomfortable questions. They may ask you uncomfortable questions to want to see your comfortable answers. And many of the aspirants' responses to such questions are so witty that the interview panel gets really impressed. I can say wit goes with wisdom. Sense of humor should be there, presence of mind should be there, your awareness should be there, and beyond that, you must have a vision in life. One of the most common questions: why do you think that you can be an IAS officer or a bank officer or army officer? They may ask you why you want to join army, why you want to become an army officer. The only thing they want to know through this question is that, is the aspirant really interested in the much esteemed post? They wanted to know your interest. Is he really having a vision that an IAS officer should be having? So they want to know whether he has got the ability to become the officer. So communication skill is very, very important. Written, oral communication, written communication, and also out of all the in languages, you have got 4 skills. The passive and the active skills are there: listening, speaking, reading and writing. If you know all the skills and if you have the knowledge, along with the knowledge and skills, you will be the topper in the world, and sky is the limit for your progress. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk with you, sir. It was a wonderful discussion, and thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. It was real pleasure listening to you. Pleasure having you with us in our studios and listening to your all knowledgeable and experience of many, many years and all your practical tips that you've given to our boys and girls. I'm sure they will learn from this. They'll understand this, and I'm sure once they crack the interview, the first person that will remember is Dr. Shiv Durga. So boys and girls, give a big hand to Dr. Shiv Durga. She's done a yeoman service to all of us. She's given us so much of her time and so much of her energy, and she's taken pains to be with us. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much, and thanks a lot. So boys and girls, that was Dr. Shiv Durga with us, and coming and expressing you all about the interviewing techniques and the communication skills. I'm sure you will be benefited. Please take the lessons given by her into your gutti in a very, very serious manner, and I'm sure success will definitely be yours. You will join the armed forces, you will join the corporates, you will join the Indian Administrative Service, or you will do well wherever you go in life. So till then, all the best. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat. Thank you very much.
Yeah.